Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. So, Tesla has now completed the self certification process for robotaxis in Nevada, a DMV representative has told Business Insider. This means Tesla can deploy an autonomous car on Nevada roads, but it still needs approval from the Nevada Transportation Authority to operate commercially. And let's not forget what Elon said on the Q3 call: we expect to be operating in Nevada and Florida and Arizona by the end of 2025. So this news should come as no surprise. This means Tesla is now officially allowed to test its robotaxis with a safety driver on roads in Nevada. However, before Tesla can start charging for paid rides, there will be one more step. For commercial ride hailing, for Tesla to start charging for these rides, Tesla's robotaxis with safety drivers will fall under Nevada's Transportation Network Company Framework, again, the TNC, meaning Tesla would still need approval from the Nevada Transportation Authority before actually monetizing the service. But as we've been covering in autonomous forward states like Nevada, this process for Tesla to apply for these actual permits should be relatively quick. The NTA usually reviews and issues the permit that Tesla will need to monetize within 30 days, and it could happen much faster than that. So depending on Tesla's urgency and plans, there is certainly a world where Tesla could launch a paid robotaxi service in Nevada before the end of the year. As now, step one, this self-certification is complete. And it's a little too early. As we know, in each new city, Tesla will start with safety monitors, but when Tesla decides to go driverless in Nevada, then their robotaxis would fall under a separate framework, which is the Autonomous Vehicle Network Company. So moving from TNC to AVNC. But we likely have until sometime around Q2 2026 before we need to cross that bridge. So for now, it's encouraging to see that there is indeed movement behind Elon's comments on the Q3 call. Very early this morning, FSD 14.2 has now gone out to the early access group. For the release notes, we only have one new bullet point, and it's the first one: upgraded the neural network vision encoder, leveraging higher resolution features to further improve scenarios like handling emergency vehicles, obstacles on the road, and human gestures. So there you have it. FSD is officially paying attention to and understanding to some degree human gestures like waving a car on or construction sites and so on. Tesla engineer Yoon Tasai said this is not a small update.
What we do not see in here is increased parameter count that we had thought was going to come in 14.2. So either they're sneaking in the increased parameter count or it's not here yet. We don't know. Look what we've got here. Self-driving stats. 0% of self-driving since V14.2. So we've now got a counter of self-driving miles versus total miles since this installation number.
For now, these stats will only be in the car, but you'll finally have a counter for how many miles you've done on FSD compared to how many total miles, and it'll show you the percentage of your miles driven on FSD. Meaning, no longer will Tesla owners need to use third-party apps, at least for a base level feature like this. It should be noted, Chuck did receive 14.2 on his Cybertruck as well.
Under the Start Self-Driving button, you now have the option to press here, and I can choose and change the speed profile as well as the destination parking.
If you have not yet experienced FSD 14 before, you could only select and change those options after you started your drive. Now you can adjust them before. We will certainly get a bunch of videos and clips throughout the weekend, but so far Chuck Cook said, "I cannot see a difference yet. I'll keep looking. It's hard to see the absence of issues. When it works, it works." Zach said he's definitely noticing a more relaxed driver monitoring system in 14.2. But counterpoint, Chuck said he's still getting blue flashes after 6 to 7 seconds of looking at his phone, saying he's not seeing the same relaxation. And I have to say, guys, directionally here, I do agree with what Lincoln said. He said a bunch of early access people are not honest about the issues with 14.1.4 or really insert any FSD version there because they're afraid afraid of upsetting Tesla or Elon. And from where I sit, this problem is even worse on X because Elon is so active on the platform. And I know you guys see it as much as I do. We now have accounts that will post things just with the hopes of getting reposted or shared by Elon. And listen, yes, to each their own, but I have a problem when it starts to lead us away from the reality of the situation and the early feedback with these new FSD builds. Zach shared a quick clip of FSD.2 avoiding a puddle. And Chris from Dirty Tesla shared this video saying that 14.2 has fixed the problem of brake stabbing for leaves. Of course, this is just anecdotal and one scenario, but it was a pretty solid test that they ran, so encouraging to hear for now. Chris also said that the brake stabbing is gone. Zach shared some first impressions. He said the same: 0 brake twitching, 0 hesitation. Avoided flooded areas, even saw potholes and road debris in the dark and rain. Speed control was great, as well as lane selection on the highway. And to that point, I would interject, I've seen a few people saying that the Mad Max mode on 14.2 is nerfed a little bit, meaning it doesn't go as fast. And for the bad, Zach said definitely seeing a regression in parking garages with a bit of steering wheel twitching. It made a wrong turn in a situation where it had no problems before. So most of the very early feedback I'm seeing is folks saying how smooth 14.2 is and that all or at least most of the brake stabbing issues are now gone. And Elon just said tonight 14.3 is where the last big piece of the puzzle finally lands. So maybe that's the 10x parameter model, maybe that's reasoning added into the mix, and maybe it's other features like banish. Either way, at this pace, there is a world where 14.3 actually ships sometime this year. It was only a few weeks between when 14.1 went to early access to when 14.2 went to EA. So of course, no guarantees a similar cadence applies between 14.2 and .3, but it's absolutely possible. For most people, that was certainly the most glaring problem with the 14.1 branch. So my guess would be Tesla was focused on fixing that first, and then once that is sorted out, then they can move to things like the 10x parameter model and adding reasoning and banish and all of these other features that we're all eagerly awaiting. Farzad shared this clip from his Cybertruck with 14.1.7 making an unprotected left and stopping in the middle of that maneuver for that person that came flying up from the left on a scooter, which most humans probably would not have seen unless they were paying very close attention. So a perfect example of why eventually FSD will be clearly better than humans, because we don't have this built-in 360-degree view like FSD does. And remember this post from Tesla Korea 10 days ago about FSD coming soon to South Korea? Well, Tesla Chan just posted a video today showing a video of using 14.1.4 in South Korea. Adding, we have yet to see any official cases of version 14 being applied outside the US and Canada. Their first impression was that FSD works in Korea and it's amazing and a great achievement. There was one case where FSD strayed from the navigation, but FSD figured it out, and overall, the experience in Korea was very good. So look, I'm not positive exactly how this Model X has version 14 in South Korea, but I would take it to mean that this is an unofficial release, because they did clarify we have yet to see any official cases of version 14 outside the US and Canada, meaning Tesla Chan's experience with version 14 is somehow unofficial, which would certainly make sense given we are only 10 days removed from this post from Tesla Korea. So no, I do not think this is some very early access testing official from Tesla yet, but definitely something to watch in the days and weeks ahead. Tesla has been running some nice incentives in the US lately, especially on the leasing side. The referral program is rebooted, and Tesla is hopefully working on the holiday software release. In that spirit, if you want to get some holiday shopping done early, Extra's offering up to 54% off for its Black Friday sale right now, and my promo code Electrified will get you an additional 10% off at checkout. out. And FYI, Extra is not just for men, so if you want to grab something for a special lady in your life, Extra really does make some awesome high quality products, and they're the sponsor of this video. Check out this teal type color smart card holder I gave to Ashley recently. She loves the color, and it can hold 10 plus cards, and it has my favorite card fan feature. Extra products have RFID blocking tech for protection, and with their new tracker that's compatible with Apple's Find My, you can track anything and get alerts if you leave anything behind, and you can see where you left it on a map. Plus, the tracker is weatherproof. I'm still using my black leather Extra wallet with the Apple AirTag holder years later, and it's held up incredibly well as my daily carry. And they have all kinds of other products and accessories in different styles and colors, and right now you can get an extra 10% off with my code Electrified at checkout at partner.extra.com/Dylan Loomis, linked below, or by using the QR code on the screen. Wishing you all a very blessed holiday season. And true story, as I was recording today, I got this text from Ashley saying that her mom now wants an Extra wallet after seeing the one that I got for her. Green the Only said auto steer has lost its beta designation with FSD version 14. He said it's also gained 3 different severities for pay attention nags based on how confident the car feels about the current conditions. He said, I guess the approaching a country border FSD features might become unavailable messaging might mean that not all of Europe will get FSD at the same time, which frankly I think should have been the expectation all along given the exemption route looking to be the most promising option that will likely be limited to one or a handful of countries to start. On one hand, it's true, this more robust NAG system that Green the Only highlighted would be a very welcome feature for EU regulators, but now we have people making leaps to saying that this has big implications for FSD supervised rolling out across the EU. For me, I am nowhere near ready to make that type of leap with news like this. However, the word on the street is that Tesla and its engineers are doing everything they can to work with European regulators to get the ball moving. So whether that's improving the trust in basic features like auto steer, removing it from beta, adding in this extra nag monitoring, or explaining the safety data with FSD, Tesla is doing all it can. However, it's still making official posts like this saying FSD supervised saves lives. Please reach out to your local governing authorities and make your voice heard to help accelerate approval. And I will say, I do think it's fair to interpret a post like this as an indication that Tesla thinks it's done everything it can do, and now it needs the help of the people to step up and to get things moving again across the EU, meaning that Tesla might feel like it's at a standstill with the regulators across the EU. And shifting to the Robotaxi service in Austin, Ethan has said Tesla completely nuked the user experience in Austin by making the service public without scaling the fleet proportionally. Not sure what the game plan was here. Sharing 2 screenshots, one high service demand, please come back later, and the second saying a ride can arrive in 45 minutes. So more data points that current demand is still exceeding Tesla's fleet size in Austin. Per the usual, Kyle Connor and Out of Spec put together a great video on the new Model Y performance, but I just want to share a few clips that call out some things that even our audience may not understand about the new Model Y performance.
The battery pack, completely new.
Yes.
It uses a new Panasonic cell that's actually built in the Kentucky factory.
Oh, Kansas. I'm sorry.
Kansas factory.
Yep.
That Panasonic built for Tesla.
Yes.
It's an NMCA. So it has nickel, cobalt, manganese, and some aluminum. We don't know the charging curve, but they said 30 minutes, 10 to 80, which on a brand new battery pack from Tesla sucks.
Yeah.
What are they doing? We just did the new Cayenne. It's 15 minutes, 10 to 80. Zeekr in China's 10 minutes, 10 to 80, and now their new stuff is doing it in 7 minutes, 10 to 80.
Like, come on, Tesla.
30 minutes, that's an eternity. Charging performance should matter here. And everyone's like, oh, but cell longevity. We've just not seen that transfer in the real world to these, like Taycans have great longevity performance. They fail for other reasons, battery pack enclosures and other stuff. But like the relationship between super high power charging with a power dense cell and degradation just doesn't seem to be there.
And just real quick, I actually disagree with Kyle on this degradation point. I think it's far too soon to say that these companies deploying ultra fast charging won't have long-term battery degradation. This type of degradation would only start showing up after years of cycling, so that could be between year 5 and 10 plus of ownership, and most of this ultra fast charging we're seeing has only been in the market for a few years.
Right.
Now, we should say that this is a slightly larger pack, 81.4 kilowatt hours usable, 84 kilowatt hours gross. Yeah, it's a completely new cell. It's an energy dense cell, but also has great power discharge characteristics. Downside with this cell, I think, well, maybe there is no downside. Charging's not great. You know what's different about this car up front though, Scott?
Is that screen?
Yeah, it's now up from, like, instead of 15.4 inches, it's now 16-inch screen. It's 1200 nits. It's got a bunch of other cool stuff going on with it. Just a beautiful display. I don't know why they did that for the performance and not the other cars, but I would imagine we'll see the screen trickle down. I just noticed the bezels being a little bit thinner and it looking a little crisper.
Yeah, and there's like more pixels and
Yeah, it's now QHD
yes, instead of 4K,
instead of 4K, which means there's a ton more pixel density.
aka way more better.
Way more better. I can't say enough things about how impressed I am with FSD. It's like just insane. These are the same brakes as the Model 3 Performance, hardware-wise.
Yes.
They are controlled completely differently than the Model 3 Performance. Model 3 Performance is a physical connected brake pedal, a natural, great pedal. You get into ABS, you feel it in the brake pedal. This uses a decoupled braking system, which means every time you hit the brake pedal, it is actuating a sensor, which then tells a unit to control the brakes. Yeah, I don't know if it's a bad thing, because I'm not against brake-by-wire. This isn't totally brake-by-wire, because if the systems completely fail, there is a hydraulic override.
Okay.
If you stand on the brake pedal, you can push through to a hydraulic booster. This is also the first non-Cybertruck to support V to L, Scott.
Yes.
So currently there's a little, through the universal mobile connector, you can like power a 120 volt outlet at 20 amps, it's like just over 2 kilowatts. However, you will be able to interface this with the Tesla PowerShare backup system, and then you can use it to power your house.
And then Kyle said PowerShare with the Cybertruck hardware is supported, software unlock coming soon. Meaning, if you have the hardware required for vehicle to home with the Cybertruck, then you'll automatically be good to go for vehicle to home with the Model Y Performance as well. And at least for now, there is not yet a track mode for the Model Y Performance. And just a heads up, the Model Y Performance is now available on the Canadian configurator for 75,000 Canadian dollars. The Global EV Alliance just put out a pretty interesting survey that did cover about 27,000 respondents around the world. So not only is it a meaningful sample size, but it's also not put out by a source like Jalopnik. This is a pro-EV organization. There were a few interesting takeaways. First, 83% of EV drivers around the world think policy measures are needed to boost EV sales in their countries. And listen, if you guys need any evidence for this, I would encourage you to go over to X and look at one of my recent posts talking about EV adoption and the disappointment it's been in the United States. 835 comments. And we won't get into it for now, but most of the comments were citing concerns like this: lack of charging infrastructure, the time it takes to charge, the distance you can travel, parking, and not having a place to plug in where you live. So obviously a very small sample size, but this comment to like ratio makes it clear that we have a long way to go to continue educating the public about EVs. And I made it clear, I know there are not a lot of great EV choices right now, but even if there were, many people would still be buying ICE vehicles. And many people said the cost was the problem, but my counter argument is always plenty of people are still buying new cars, and the average new car price is still around $50,000. And what do we always say? People need to start looking at the total cost of ownership rather than just the upfront cost. And listen, I'm not in any way trying to say that EVs are the perfect solution for everyone. However, I am making the argument that they are a better option for more than 6% of the United States population, which is what the EV adoption rate was for the month of October. But here's the real unfortunate data. Are there some car brands you would avoid for political reasons? 53% of respondents said yes. And keep in mind, this survey is only for people that already own an EV. This does not include people considering EVs. After that, there was an open-ended follow-up question, and it said, what brands or countries would you avoid for political reasons? And the top response was Tesla at 41%. And this figure is global data. And then if you looked at the United States responses specifically, that number jumped to 52% of respondents who would avoid Tesla. So listen, you guys know I always have my skeptical antennas up for all surveys. But I think we need to at least acknowledge what's happening. We have a pro-EV outlet and pro-EV owners making it pretty clear that Tesla and specifically Elon's politics are indeed having a material impact on Tesla's brand. Now, thankfully, autonomy and optimists will largely override sentiment-based problems, but politics is a brutal and unforgiving sport. And there was some good news for EVs. 86% of the EV drivers said they're very satisfied with owning an EV, up from 82% last year. And I will say, I looked for any Democratic ties or funding in this organization to see if maybe there was an attempt to skew the results to make Tesla look bad, since this was the first year they included this political question in the survey. And I came up empty. So the results are disappointing, but take them how you will. Someone shared an image with Sawyer of a Tesla with the LiDAR validation rooftop rack doing testing in Boston, Massachusetts. And checking the Tesla careers page, you will find a role for AI safety operator in Peabody, Massachusetts. Tesla is looking for someone to join their vehicle data collection team. They'll be responsible for driving an engineering vehicle for extended periods, conducting dynamic audio and camera data collection for testing and training purposes. Tesla's new rental program that we covered recently is now expanding to 5 different locations, also on the Tesla careers page. We have Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Boston, Massachusetts, Fort Worth, Texas, and Houston, Texas. All of the positions are for this rental readiness specialist. They will coordinate the receipt of incoming new and used vehicle inventory. The positions responsible for fleet and lot management, movement of vehicles, vehicle readiness, rental invoicing, and customer handoff. Don't forget, when we covered Tesla launching this program, we posed the question, could Tesla down the line eventually replace a company like Hertz to cut out the middleman and rent their cars direct to consumer? And look, even when these positions are filled, Tesla will still be under 10 cities total for this rental program. But as I said, if the program goes well, maybe this expansion will continue. And certainly this quick expansion following up that pilot program in California is encouraging. In Australia, Tag Energy is building Australia's largest wind farm. And they just said they'll be using 168 Tesla Megapack XLs, and the building work will start early next year. This project is set to be completed mid-2027. And it's under a gigawatt-hour project, so nothing huge. However, this is a repeat customer for Tesla, as Tag has bought Megapacks for other projects in other countries in the past. Tesla's new Model S and Model X are both now available to the Chinese market, but for now, it's through in-stock or inventory vehicles only. The Model Y configurator is officially now live for Colombia, and it starts at $119 million. Obviously, I'm just kidding. That's 119.9 million Colombian pesos. And of course, the Model 3 is available as well. And maybe I'm missing something here. Please correct me if I am. But if I'm converting this base price for what the Model Y is listed for, that currently converts to about 32,000 US dollars. So unless I'm missing something, this is incredibly aggressive pricing for Tesla's entry into the Colombian market. And if I'm not mistaken, it would be one of the most affordable Model Y prices anywhere in the world. So Tesla's definitely looking to compete with, if not outright undercut, BYD in this market, and we have deliveries expected for Q1 2026. Tesla Charging shared the first North American supercharger that's managed by Tesla but owned by a third party is now open in Land of Lakes, Florida. Clearly, we need all of the public charging availability and visibility we can get, so it's great to see this program officially up and running. In case you missed it, this program basically enables any company to own the underlying property while Tesla will actually manage the superchargers itself. So the business owns the property and the land, and then Tesla will actually own, install, and manage the supercharger equipment. Tesla handles everything when it comes to construction, installation, operation, and maintenance, as you would expect. So the business really doesn't have to do any upkeep. And as you saw, the business gets to brand these superchargers however they want, so there's no indication it's a Tesla supercharger unless you know the industry well. And thinking about it from the business perspective, these supercharger stalls will be included in Tesla's navigation, so as customers are looking for charging, their business can become a stop in the supercharger navigation. And sadly, we do not have any detail about any revenue sharing arrangements or anything like that. Across Europe, Edenred has now integrated superchargers into its own fast charging network. This company allows fleet drivers to use a single card or app to access millions of different charging points across Europe. So you would think that a company that's hyper focused on making operating electric fleets as seamless as possible, they would have done this sooner. But you know what they say, better late than never. Edenred users can now access more than 20,000 superchargers across more than 1,500 locations in Europe. In the Tesla app on the energy side, the home screen now features live weather with site-specific time of day, clouds, rain, snow, and more. This feature is available for Powerwall, Solar, Wall Connector, and PowerShare sites. The list of the winning sites for the supercharger voting from Q3 is now live on the screen. Pause if you'd like to see it. But just passing this along to remind you that voting is now officially open for Q4. Iona's fast-charging EV network said it will increase its investment in California over the next 3 years. The joint venture, backed by 8 big-name automakers, will invest $250 million in California through 2029 and now has contracted more than 1,000 charging bays there. That means California will account for nearly 1/4 of Iona's planned 4,000 chargers nationwide. Contracted in this context means the actual deployment of the chargers could still be months or years away. These are locations where the company has already signed agreements with the site host, but construction may not have started yet due to local permitting or coordination with utilities. But zooming out, Iona now operates 40 stations with 384 charging ports nationwide. The stock and crypto markets have been fun as of late, and maybe sometime in the weeks ahead we'll do a quick segment on the macro space. It's been a while. But adding to the fun, the US Labor Department has canceled the October CPI inflation report. This because the Bureau of Labor Statistics did not have the staff to conduct the surveys thanks to the government shutdown. Fun fact, this is the first time in the history of the United States a monthly CPI report has been outright canceled. Tesla has been sued yet again over a crash that resulted in at least 1 death, where they're claiming that the problem was the doors not opening after the power was lost. And in this case, the plaintiff is arguing that the car suddenly accelerated out of control on its own, which is an argument we've seen numerous times in the past, and most of the time it's been completely debunked. But the situation with the power-controlled doors and the mechanical releases being in a place where most people don't think to look in an emergency situation is a real one. But don't forget, Franz addressed that publicly and said Tesla is working on a redesign of the door handles to make them more intuitive for occupants in a panic situation. But I always like to share these as a reminder to everyone out there with a Tesla. Please make sure you know how to operate the mechanical door release, and make sure your passengers know how to as well. There's been plenty of egregious FUD about Elon and his new pay package at Tesla, but he had a great response to the nonsense from the more perfect unions, saying, "I've earned none of that so far, and anyone who thinks Tesla becoming the most valuable company on earth by far is such a sure thing is welcome to invest and share in the outcome." Tesla stock closed the day at $391.09, down 1.05%. 0.8%, while the NDX was up 0.77%. The volume was 18% above the average. Don't forget, check out Exter linked below. As you saw, now my wife and my mother-in-law are both hooked. So men, if you need to grab something for the women in your life, it could be an awesome option. Hope you guys have a wonderful and a safe weekend. Please like the video if you did. You can find me on X linked below, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.